Yeah, thanks for we'll call the meeting to order and have roll call, please.
Yeah.
Kim Brown,
Yes.
Mike Oakley. Steph here.
Here.
Pat Peters, here. Brad Satola. Here.
Yes. Mr. Field, release the pledge, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Okay, we have visitors, Mr. Fowler.
Yes, we do. I think Ms. Urban, did you want to ask a question?
Yeah, I was just stopping by to ask about the soccer program. Meridian had approached Sangamon Valley out, so I was just coming to get an update on
We're
progress.
still just trying to figure out numbers, situations, and I know we were talking about doing another survey with the kids. And then Meridian and myself have been just kind of discussing and figuring out like what exactly is going on. So I think right now we're still talking with everybody about that.
We were looking at two possible options. First of all, in the spring, toward the end of the school year, we did an interest survey for the then seventh graders that will be freshmen next year, see the interest level. And then we also surveyed some of the kids here at the high school to kind of gauge. What we've done now is we're in the process, now after they've had the summer to kind of think about it, we're doing that again, asking how many we might have that would be interested. One avenue would be if we do something like that, the possibility of us hosting a soccer program with a co-op with Tri-City. And I have talked with Tri-City and with the AD there to see if they would be interested. And he said yes. Now what he's going to do is survey their kids over there. So that's an option. And then another option is with Meridian. And we would want to see how many of our kids would be interested. And also some of the, we need some details about what Meridian's thinking. But we're looking at two different options right now. So it is still in the process. So it's not been dropped. We're still looking. So there's where we are with that.
Are you still thinking of starting the program in 2015?
That would be the soonest we could do it. It would be in 15, 16 actually. I mean, we're underway now.
Right.
So that is what Meridian, I think, is looking at. And I think that's as early as we could hope to do it, would be in 15, 16.
If you started a new program, would that still work for 2015?
I think it would. I think we'd still have time to do it.
And can I ask one more question? How many people from the interest survey that you did last year, how many people did you get?
Let's see, I've got that right here. We've got the high school girls had 12 that expressed an interest. Boys at the high school, we had 6 express an interest. And then the 7th graders, or the 15, 16 freshmen, there were 3 boys and 9 girls expressed an interest. So it does seem like maybe it's a more popular thing with the girls than with the boys. Or at least that's what it is now. And so that's why we wanted to do another interest inventory now to see if anything's changed as far as the thoughts of these kids or maybe others. So
When was the survey done?
this was done late spring. This was done prior to school getting out. And I think we did it in May. You know, so I don't know how much of their mind was on school in May anyway. But now, you know, as we move closer to 15, 16, we might get a more accurate gauge.
I think it was directly after they were here on that.
I think it was. I think
It was
think
towards the end of
shortly
the
after.
school year, yeah.
So, but that's kind of where we are right now. So we need to get some details from Meridian on what they're asking and financial considerations for Meridian and all that. And at the same time, I'm curious to know if we hosted our own, put some numbers together to see what that would look like financially and programmatic wise, how that would come into play. So we hope to have a decision, later in the year in time to start, because our goal would be, either way we go, the goal probably should be to start in 15-16 school year. So,
Okay, thank you.
you're welcome.
Thanks, Cindy.
Also, Leonard, we have Jack Campbell here, and of course, Jack, as we all know, is the deputy sheriff over in Sangamon County, and he had talked to me on the phone about an interesting program, and I'm going to let Jack kind of explain.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Fowler. Well, as Mr. Fowler said, I'm the undersheriff of Sangamon County, but I'm also a resident of Sangamon Valley School District, parent of 2 graduates of Sangamon Valley High School, and soon to be a grandparent of future Sangamon Valley Storm girls. So I wanted to talk to you tonight about school safety. We know that the violence is on the rise in schools, and our response, law enforcement response, has changed since the Columbine incident. And every time something happens, law enforcement responds trying to find a faster way to get there. As you see on the handout I gave you, the average school shooting, and that is our worst case scenario, would be a shooting, lasts about 12 minutes. Law enforcement response is about 18 minutes. In other words, we can't get there before it's over with. So I talked to you in the past about trying to secure the school. And I still think that's the best bet, is when we keep intruders out of the school is our #1 priority. However, we know they can get in if they really want to get in. So now we're talking about how can law enforcement respond faster to a school shooting. The Newtown shooting that happened a couple years ago lasted 4.5 minutes and 26 students were killed. So you had 6 students that were killed every minute. If law enforcement could have got there 3 minutes faster, possibly 18 students could have been saved. We don't know that for fact, it's speculation, but the point is, how can we respond faster? What I gave you is from the law enforcement end, it's called Hero 911. From the school end, it's called a school guard. And it's designed to work together. And what this is, it's a phone app that teachers inside the school that would be willing to utilize this would have the app on their phone. And something would happen in their classroom, they could simply push a button on their phone and it would immediately do 3 things. It would call 911, it would send a signal to everybody else in the school that has the app, and also any law enforcement officer within a 10-mile radius of that school would receive a signal to their phone. So, and I was talking to Mrs. Hawkins a minute ago about, Sangamon Valley we're way out here at the bottom line. We've got, some deputies that work off duty in Minneapolis. We've got some Macon County deputies working out here, and we have state troopers on the highway once in a while. But the odds of us having somebody on duty in town are very slim. However, you could have a Macon County deputy or a Champaign County deputy or Cook County driving by. If they are within 10 miles of that school, they can respond to that school. And again, this is about how fast can we get law enforcement there to eliminate the threat. I'll tell you, I have no financial gain in this whatsoever. I don't work for them. They don't pay me anything. I simply was involved in this. They asked me to be involved from the first meeting we had in Springfield to kind of get the word out to law enforcement about this. And I asked permission to come down and talk to the school board about this. I will try to answer, I have some more information. I will try to answer any questions I can. But again, this is not my company. I simply have sat in on the meetings. The initial cost per school is $2,500 to get the transmitter put into your school. It sets up a geofence around your school so that if you're a teacher and you have this app downloaded, this program for Sangamon Valley, and you're at Meridian at a game, somebody gets your phone, they can't set up the app in Meridian school. It only works within your geofence around your school. I can't remember the distance. It's maybe several hundred yards around the middle of the school, I think. Again, I'd like to ask the owner of the company. But I'm here to tell you about law enforcement, our feeling about this. Right now, over 3,000 officers have downloaded this app, and we're just waiting for schools to get it. In Springfield, there's a big drive on now to raise money for the large public schools. They anticipate them having the most problems. I told them I don't want to forget about Sangamon Valley or Meridian or Warrensburg or Buffalo Tri-City. We're all schools too that have the same problem. So I brought this tonight for you guys to look at. There's no pitch for me. If you want the owner of the company to come out and answer more questions, I'm sure he'd be happy to. He's in Bloomington now. He's retired lieutenant colonel from the state police, is the president of the company, named Mike Snyders. He's a great guy, and I think it's well worth it. And again, this is about the safety of our kids.
we've talked to law enforcement about responding to a situation with a shooter, and we're off duty in plain clothes. So this app gives us the ability to acknowledge to 911 that we are on our way, and I'm either in uniform or in plain clothes. So it's trying to eliminate some of the problems, but in the end, I don't care. I don't care that my life may be endangered by other law enforcement officials. I'm there trying to save kids. So that's been brought up from our end about officer safety. What about this? What about that? We're trying to save kids' lives with this. So the faster we can respond, the more lives we can save. So again, I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have, or certainly you can get hold of Mr. Snyders and have him come down.
I think my initial question, I think you answered it, is how you coordinate, since we are in 3 counties, that we have schools in 2 counties, so it could be anybody.
Correct, and I also know that each school would have to have their own transmitter. So, we've got several schools, if you wanted one in each school, you'd have to purchase that separately. And I forgot to add, it's on the paperwork too, it's $100 a month maintenance fee after that. So you have the initial cost of the purchasing the transmitter, and then the monthly maintenance fee. But it's, again, this is there's been a million questions asked of them, and I've been in several meetings with them, and I can't think of all the questions, but not one of them did they not address. I think it's very well thought out, and I think they thought about every possibility here and addressed that in the planning stages.
What if we wanted to get, I don't know how the rest of you feel, I'd kind of like to have this gentleman come down and for our next board meeting, and how would you get a hold of him? We get a hold
Well,
of
I would
him?
ask that I can just step out of this. I gave you his business card, I believe, and just call him directly. And I talked to him today, told him I'd be down here again, and he has, he said you can work it in if you wanted to talk to him, and he'd be happy to come down.
Because I think we probably ought to take a look at it, folks, and in between now and then, we could see how we could fund this.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if you got any ideas off the top of your head, but give you a chance to look at funding. I think it's a good idea.
Well, there's a golf outing next Monday to help start raising money for, Green Toyota has agreed to purchase the ones for the large schools. It's the public schools in Springfield, SHG, and Chatham. They're going to purchase those. But they recognize, they know there's other schools out there, and they want to help, and they and Piper Glen are going together to have a golf outing. But they can give you more ideas. Mike Snyder's going to give you more ideas about how to raise the money. And I think most communities have people that are willing to step up and fund this. And also, I wanted to add that very few schools, I think there's 3 schools right now in the entire state have this. I would think by this time next year, there's going to be dozens of them. And as Mr. Fowler and I talked, it'd be nice for a school like Sangamon Valley to be out ahead of the curve on this and not wait for everybody else, and let's take care of our kids. That's what this is about, is our kids' safety.
Well, and unfortunately, you hear more and more of these tragic events, so anything you can do to prevent it.
I think it's great. I think it's a great idea, and I think we need to really see to get this done.
I think you get old Mike, and you have to come down. So thank you for speaking.
Appreciate it, Jack.
Yes, sir.
I have a question. We have like the JFL programs and the youth league programs. Would this also be available for like the coaches to download on their phone? Because our games are on school grounds. So if there's an issue there, they could utilize it too.
I think that would be the school policy that certainly is available. It's whoever the school allows to download that app, I believe they can have it.
It's probably worth looking into.
Mm-hmm.
Jack, the $2,500 we've got, that's not a district cost. That would be $2,500 for the high school, $2,500 for Harristown, and then would Illiopolis, could we get that under one $2,500, or would they look at that as 2 schools?
I think it's the building. They don't care. It's the building itself. I think it's only the distance is what restricts you. So I think you'd have
So we
to
would have
purchase 3 of them if you wanted. Right.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Anybody else have any questions for Mike? Appreciate it, Jack. You bet. Okay. Anybody else?
No.
Okay. Consent agenda. Anyone have any questions, comments on the consent agenda? Not, entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Motion made by Kim,
Second.
second by Stephanie. Call roll, please.
Kim Brown,
Yes.
Mike Oakley,
Yes.
Stephanie Brown,
Yes.
Ed Peters, yes, Brad Santola,
Yes.
Larry Williams.
Yes. Superintendent's report.
Yes, I'll give you a couple updates on some things. First of all, if you notice, our bleachers are completed out here. And and I think they did a good job with that. Friday night, we'll have a scrimmage, and so the public will get to see those bleachers. It's interesting because I talked to one of the folks, the contractors, and he said, when they started taking our old bleachers down, they said it is amazing that those bleachers had not fallen apart. He said because there were bolts that were completely rusted in two, and he said probably the only thing that saved us was some crossbars that were on the old bleachers. So he said it was definitely time. So that, I was glad that he, I guess that's good news, bad news. I was glad he didn't say, well, your old ones were fine. They weren't fine. They were on the verge of crumbling. So by us moving ahead and doing that, that was a smart thing to do. What we need to do now is, if you've walked out there, we need to do a little bit of asphalt work to the right side of the bleachers, so that, as you see, they've built a wheelchair ramp. We need to have it accessible now to extend out about 5 to 6 feet to the right of that pad, so a wheelchair and people can walk on asphalt. And also, we've talked about asphalting that area between where the current asphalt ends, it kind of breaks off, and then there are those bumpers that the cars park, and it's gravel. We want to asphalt along that to the concession stand. And then there's also an area that's basically turns into a swamp down here to the left of the bleachers where some of the teachers park down here. That needs to be asphalted. We've got a price Monty contacted done at $12,244 to do that. I talked to them to ask them, I want to have it done prior to the first official game of the season. And they said as long as they get the go-ahead, they can meet that deadline pending the weather. So I guess what I'm saying is I think we need to do that. And unless you have an objection, I'd like to call him in the morning and say, get on it. So,
First round where it's wet, is that going to create any kind of drainage problems then if we make that up?
I don't believe so. I don't believe that'd be a problem.
We only called one company.
Yeah, it's the same company that has taken care of our stuff out here on the parking lot. That's the one that, seems like they do a really good job. So.
I'd like to see some more bids.
Well, yeah, I mean, we could, we're kind of, like I said, under a time constraint. It needs to be done prior to September 5th. So we're really short on time. If we have any rain in the next few weeks, it could delay them. That's why I want to get on this and get us on the list so that they can get out here and get this thing done. I'd like to have it done by the time people start having to use it.
Full board before I call a question, Brad, what do you think?
I mean, it'd be nice to have a little bit of notice on it, versus to try and sit here and make a decision or something like that,
Well, we really, until we looked at it, I guess it was about a week ago, or maybe less, to see actually how it turned out, because there was still some work that needed to be done. And there was about a 5-inch gap between the old pad, or the new pad, and the asphalt that had to be filled in. And we wanted to see what that looked like and see what the extent of their work was going to be done. And there it is, they filled that in. That's done, but that's as far as they go on that.
Yeah, but I came by today and looked at it, I drove by, last week, but.
Kim?
Well, I think we probably need a couple more bids, but I can also see wanting to get it done before the game start and
I agree. I don't have a problem with the price that much, because at that price, I don't think you're going to save the ton of money. I think most of these for jobs that small, I think most of these guys will be pretty close to the same way.
Is there one section that's much larger than the other, maybe there, that maybe back there?
I think, Bob, that area back there is not as big
No.
as this area here.
The most
biggest substantial part of the asphalt will be on this side. But if it's not finished and we have a rain like today, you're not gonna be able to get onto the bleachers without walking through mud. I don't know what happened with the design. I assumed the concrete would come out where you would have a walkway where you could get to the wheelchair ramp and get to the steps. And for whatever reason, I don't know, it did not turn out that way.
Do we know the square footage of the area, what we need done?
I don't have it.
Now, the ramp it's got a patch of asphalt right there, right, where they put in. Where the ramp is at.
The ramp is right there on the edge.
Right. And there's a patch of asphalt there between the concrete, the old asphalt and concrete there.
But then the steps come right down into
Into the dirt.
That's fine with me. I mean, if we need to get it done, time's an issue, so. Move forward.
Stephanie?
I think Dunn is easily the best company indicator to do it. I do have a contact for another. If you wanted to contact them tomorrow and say, this is what I have, I could give you their number. And just tell them you have to have a number tomorrow and go from there. I mean, whether or not they'd be able to do it that quickly, I don't know, but we have done work in coordination with them as well as Dunn Company, but I do feel Dunn is probably the best out there.
So you're okay with doing this, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, and if you want the number of the other, I'm glad to give it to you.
Mike?
How much is the amount?
12,244.
I'm willing to approve that amount to be spent, but I would like for you to call. I emailed you, I think when we did the parking lots and the bus drive, some other companies that, like the road commissioners use for the oil and shipping. I would like to see 2 other people at least called and contacted. But I'm willing to approve that amount to be spent to have it done. And if they could do it cheaper, so be it.
Okay.
If they're higher, then we would have done.
What's the amount?
12,244.
Okay, you need a motion to approve the
Well,
asphalt?
wait a minute.
Okay.
They might be cheaper, but they might not be able to get it done before we need to have it done. So are you okay with going with the higher expense to get it done before the game?
Yes.
Okay. We need a motion to approve the asphalt work on the north and south end of the new bleachers, not to exceed the amount of $12,244. Motion made by Stephanie, is there a second? Second by Michael, please call roll, please.
Kim Brown?
Yes.
Mike Oakley?
Yes.
Stephanie Guerrero?
Yes.
Pat Peters? Yes. Francis Moore?
Yes.
Yes.
And then, Michael, if you will, could you email me again those people?
Yeah.
A couple of them anyway, and I can make some phone calls tomorrow afternoon and see what they can do.
Okay.
Also, I'll give you an update. We had bad storms today, and our high school here, we received a lightning strike that knocked out our football scoreboard and also our phone system. We pieced together the phones to go for a little while, but we're hobbling right now with it, and I've contacted Americall, and they'll be coming in to replace our system. This will be an insurance deal. So I've also contacted our insurance carrier.
And the scoreboard out for the count.
The scoreboard, I'm pretty confident, will not be working from scrimmage. So, again, we're going to try to have it ready for our first home game on September 5th. And that's my report.
Okay, anybody have questions or comments?
Oh, I think if the principals want to give kind of a summary of your enrollment on day 1 enrollment, and let us kind of know.
The high school is at 226, which is up from about 215 at the end of the school year last year. We started out the year around 220, down to about 216 by the end of the school year, and we're at 226 right now.
Okay.
That's in school, and then we have another handful of kids that, I think 233 is our total enrollment.
Okay,
Is the freshman class larger than the norm?
Yes.
good.
I handed you a green sheet with our Harristown enrollment. We're up 9 students from the end of last year. Our largest class is definitely kindergarten. We've gained 13. So we have 19 in each class, and that's quite a few. Big difference from last year.
Good.
At middle school, we ended last year, I think we had a total with mobility included like 187. Over the course of the year, we ended the year at around 176, and then we're starting this year out with 177. So we're at +1. That's with 15 new students, so we've lost 14 somewhere along the way over the course of the summer, but we are at +1 from where we were at the end of last year.
At Illiopolis, we thought we were going to be at 133. We've actually gained 9 students, spread out amongst the 5 grades. We just gained 2 new ones today, actually. And our pre-K, we have 20 right now with 25 on the wait list, ready to go.
25
On the wait list.
Harristown is full as well at pre-K with 20. And I know there's a wait list, I'm sure, well, the 25.
Yeah, it's the 25.
Yeah.
So basically, we are starting the year +30 over where we started it last year. So that's some good news. Now, you know, as tradition, whether you hold on to those 30, it's a different matter. Because as the year goes, you typically lose students. But that's good news, at least that we've started above where we were last year. So let's hope that that hangs in there, because our funding counts on our average daily attendance. Our average daily attendance can only be up if your enrollment's up.
That's a 3-year running average, right? So we will get a count that's +30 for that.
Well, what you do is you take your best 3 months on your attendance, and you average that number with your 2 previous years' ADA, which is based on your best 3 months. And then that gives your ADA for the coming year, or for the funding for the subsequent year.
Anybody else? Questions, comments? Thank you, principals. Appreciate it. Hope all of you, hope the year started off okay for you. Had a good start, everybody?
Other than the lightning today.
Yeah, today was a doozy.
Okay,
Y'all knew it was gonna warm up right as soon as we got started.
thank you. New business, approval of tentative 2014-2015 budget.
Okay, I'm going to ask you to approve the tentative budget tonight, and we'll set a hearing at the September meeting. Depending on, you know, where we go, like I always say, your initial budget's kind of a rough estimate. But it's looking like we're going to have a deficit spending in the ed fund of around $220,000 this year. I hope that is worst case scenario. You know, I hope we come in under that. But that is the fund that I had the most concern about. If you'll remember, year before last, I presented to you a couple options that would have cut $274,000 to $329,000 off of the budget for this year. So, you know, had we have done that, then we would probably be okay. We would have probably been in the black in the ed fund this year, but we chose not to. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that you made a bad decision. Educationally, you made a good decision because you kept your class sizes small, and you know, kids generally learn better in smaller class sizes. So from an educational standpoint, you guys made the right decision. From a financial standpoint, bottom line, you know, we're probably going to be spending in the red this year in the ed fund. But again, you know, you made a noble decision in the fact that you chose education over finance. So, you know, it's hard to argue with that. I will tell you that 220,000 is not necessarily because we've gone nuts spending. The state, again, prorated our general state aid. That cost us $171,547. The state was obligated to pay us $171,547 more than what we got because of the proration. That costs us money. So if you took that 220 and you that minus 220 and you added that 171, you're only about a 50 in the red. We also had a couple high-need special ed students move in that is going to require some additional support, and that's going to add about $25,000 to our budget. So when you look at that, that's about $196,000 at that 220. That it's beyond our control. When you have high-need special ed students under federal law, you've got to provide for them. You've got to provide in accordance with their IEP. So you've got to do it. So there's $196, almost $200,000 that was out of our control in this budget. Now I'm still hoping that this 220 is worst case, and hopefully will come in less than that. You'll probably be faced again this year with having to make that same, you'll be in the same dilemma as you have been in the past. Having to make a decision between an educational decision and a financial decision. So, again, that's going to be out there. I'm going to hand you again the same plan that we've looked at in the past as far as this possible restructuring. To think about, and I'll be meeting with the principals a little bit more on it to see if that's possible, but it's, again, something for you to think about for the coming months. So, I hope that by June 30th, I'll be able to have better news on our budget than what the initial is. We did last year, but I've only got so many lines. I think I've used about 8 of my 9 lines. So I'm going to ask you to approve the tentative school district budget.
Okay. Need a motion to approve the 2014-2015 tentative school district budget. So motion made by Thad, seconded by Stephanie. Call roll, please.
Kim Reynolds,
Yes.
Mike Oakley,
Yes.
Stephanie Guerrero,
Yes.
Pat Peters, yes, Brett Santola,
Yes.
Larry Williams.
Yes.
Okay, next I'll ask you to set as part of the board meeting in September, and that board meeting is set back to September 24th because there has to be a 30-day window between your tentative budget and an adopted budget. I'll ask you to set the hearing for the 14-15 budget as part of the regular meeting on September 24th.
So moved.
Need a motion to set a hearing on 2014-2015 tentative school district budget as part of the regular board meeting on December 24th. And we have a motion from Kim. Is there a second? Second by Brad. Call roll, please.
Kim Reynolds,
Yes.
Mike Oakley,
Yes.
Stephanie Guerrero,
Yes.
Pat Peters, yes, Brett Santola,
Yes.
Larry Williams.
Yes. Okay, it's a motion to approve the annual recognition of schools applications, annual standard stuff. correct?
Yeah, that's an annual thing that I have to do. It just has to be reflected in the board minutes. I'll ask you to do that. I ask you to entertain the motion to do that.
Okay, I have a motion for that. Motion made by Stephanie. Is there a second? Second by Kim. Call roll, please.
Kim Reynolds,
Yes.
Mike Oakley,
Yes.
Stephanie Guerrero,
Yes.
Pat Peters, yes, Brett Santola,
Yes.
Larry Williams.
Yes. Sentinel subscription.
I'll ask you to renew the subscription to Sentinel. If you'll remember, I think last month we tabled that till I got the figures, and she's keeping the cost the same as she has done, I think, for the last 3 to 4 years. So, pretty good deal for us. I'll ask that you go ahead and adopt that.
Can I ask a question on that? The cost on that was like 18 plus?
$18.50 per subscription.
but to our, like our total.
It runs probably 10,000.
Okay. So I guess in this grand scheme of we need to cut costs at every angle, is there a way we can pull, I mean, I know we're concerned about kids not having computer access, email access, whatever, but I feel like almost everybody and their brother has a smartphone these days with email on it. You know, I don't know, it's a big expense for us to, you know, keep housing when I think parents have to be responsible at some point and look in the book bag or, you know, ask at the school or, you know.
We looked at, I think 2 or 3 years ago, and Debbie's here, as a matter of fact, Debbie did quite a bit of research on this, on if we were to drop that versus, you know, newsletters and things like that, and we found it to be probably cost prohibitive when you look at the labor-intensive part of it. Debbie, can you say anything about that?
With the wear and tear on the copiers, the toner cartridges, the paper, and having someone to have, you know, to actually copy and collate that, there was the expense of that. We also did a survey a couple of years ago with the parents asking about internet access. And believe it or not, we had about 50% of parents who do not have consistent internet access.
That was how many years ago, though?
About 2, maybe.
Yeah, because I had asked about that, and my big thing was,
I was surprised at how many there were.
yeah.
I'm just thinking, you know, all staff members get it. Is there a way we can just have maybe it sent to the school? I mean, I know the teachers read it in the teacher's lounge, but then I also get one at my house. I mean, I see them more in the recycling bin at school. You know, I'm sure they've been read and then they're just put in there. So would there be some way, I don't know what the other principals think,
And there's,
but,
you know, there's a
you know,
possibility.
it's nice
of
to
that.
get it at home, but I can read it just as well at school.
And we can cut that a little bit, you know, probably. I think Cindy would probably be agreeable to that.
Cut teachers out completely and just make them accessible in the schools. I mean, that's a start. I think I'd like to see another, you know, a review at some point to see now how many have emails and access to email, whether you're not really an internet connection, because some people don't, especially those of us that live in the middle of nowhere. But, you know, we have it on our phones or at work or where you can contact mom and dad and that kind of thing and save.
So you're thinking a survey to the people that say, who does have internet access, maybe we can figure
I
out
think
some
with internet
kind of
You know,
access, but email.
electronic version.
And that might be
Email.
something we can do at parent-teacher conference when they
Maybe
come in and.
it's been a couple of years, so it's a good conversation on this. Maybe we ought to,
I just think in this day and age when we are cutting everything, I didn't realize it was that expensive, I guess. When you said that last meeting, I almost tipped on your cheek.
do another, go ahead and approve this and try to look at ways to cut back, maybe do another survey and see who's gained access. And maybe, one of the things to ask people is, where do you get your information about your, about school activities? Is it in the newspaper? Is it on the computer? Where?
Right.
Facebook.
And I think more so than, like I said, more so not so much internet connection, but email. Because a lot of people don't have internet, but they do have that smartphone that gets them their email these days, so.
And we can, you know, we can certainly look at that and see if it's changed any and see, we'll be happy to do that. That, as a matter of fact, several years ago, I thought maybe about removing that, but, you know, after we got to digging into what it would cost, we found that this was probably the most cost-effective way of getting word out, and also, you know, the kids a lot of times are in the paper and all that.
Any other questions or comments? If not, to entertain a motion to renew the subscription to the Sentinel for the 2014-2015 school year. Motion made by Brad, is there a second?
I'll second
Seconded by Thad. Call the roll, please.
Kim Brown,
Yes.
Mike Oakley,
Yes.
Stephanie Guerrero,
Yes.
Thad Peters, yes. Brad Cole,
Yes.
Roy Williams.
Yes. Anything else for closed session? Okay.
I got a question. How's our website doing? I know we've been having a lot of issues with it. Is it getting taken care of?
Mr. Grecky, I think, has moved everything off of the old system into the new system. So I mean, I've not visited our website in a month probably, but he was working on it. I know that was the goal to redo it.
He worked on it all summer, he said.
Yeah.
I think everything's switched over. It should be, well, actually, there shouldn't be any problems with it now from what, because I was posting articles and stuff on it the other day. I didn't,
Yeah,
Didn't
we just
have
had
any
a
issues.
bunch of events on ours today.
Is there a counter or something that shows like how many people actually look at our website?
I don't know. That'd be a good question.
Mr. Gregg might have.
Yeah, he might have something in the management side of things that he sees. I don't notice one on the actual webpage itself.
There's usually one you can add, if not, that appears at the bottom, that you can put in, and it's just a constant ticker that you could add it.
Yeah, if we asked him to do that, we could probably check to see, and, you know, he may do it through an admin site. I don't know that.
Just to see how much.
See how much traffic is on it.
Yeah, because that might be something we might want to look into instead of the Sangamon subscription, you know?
It could be, you can see how many people do it, maybe figure out who's on, who's not, and send people who aren't, send them.
Yeah.
That's gonna be inflated because all those teachers' computers are set, their home page is set
So they
to.
go to it every day.
So that's gonna be kind of an inflated number that might not be useful.
All right, need a motion to go to closed session.
So moved.
Motion made by Stephanie, second by Cam, call roll please. Okay, we need a motion to accept the resignation of Joe Brooks, classroom aide, effective at the end of the 13-14 school year. Motion made by Brad Santola, is there a second? Second by Cam. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Need a motion to approve the list of bus drivers as presented.
So moved.
Motion made by Cam, is there a second, please? Second by Thad. Call roll, please.
Kim Bramble,
Yes.
Mike Oakley,
Yes.
Stephanie Guerrero,
Yes.
Matt Peters, yes, Brad Santola.
Yes.
Larry Williams.
Yes. Need a motion to employ Teresa Muir as part-time cook. Motion made by Thad, is there a second on that? Second by Stephanie. Call roll, please.
Kim Bramble,
Yes.
Mike Oakley,
Yes.
Stephanie Guerrero,
Yes.
Matt Peters, yes, Brad Santola,
Yes.
Larry Williams.
Yes. Need a motion to employ Erica Byrne as classroom aide.
So moved.
Motion made by Cam, second by Stephanie. Call roll, please.
Kim Bramble,
Yes.
Mike Oakley,
Yes.
Stephanie Guerrero,
Yes.
Matt Peters, yes, Brad Santola,
Yes.
Larry Williams.
Yes. Need a motion to employ Solange Davis as individual aide.
So moved.
Motion made by Thad, second by Stephanie. Call roll, please.
Kim Bramble,
Yes.
Mike Oakley,
Yes.
Stephanie Guerrero,
Yes.
Matt Peters, yes, Brad Santola,
Yes.
Larry Williams.
Yes. Need a motion to employ Amanda Shemenko as individual aide.
So moved.
Motion made by Kim, is there a second? Second by Stephanie. Call roll, please.
Kim Bramble,
Yes.
Mike Oakley,
Yes.
Stephanie Guerrero,
Yes.
Matt Peters, yes, Brad Santola,
Yes.
Larry Williams.
Yes. Need a motion to employ Ariana Guerrero as part-time classroom aide.
So moved.
Motion made by Kim, is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Thad. Call roll, please.
Kim Bramble,
Yes.
Mike Oakley,
Yes.
Stephanie Guerrero,
I'll stand.
Matt Peters, yes, Brad Santola,
Yes.
Larry Williams.
Yes. Need a motion to employ Mandy Shipley as a part-time custodian.
So moved.
Motion made by Stephanie, is there a second, please?
Second.
Second by Mike. Call roll, please.
Kim Bramble,
Yes.
Mike Oakley,
Yes.
Stephanie Guerrero,
Yes.
Matt Peters, yes, Brad Santola,
Yes.
Larry Williams.
Yes. Need a
Table
motion,
that, we don't need that one.
this one?
Yeah.
Okay. Need a motion to restore pre-K aide to Donna Ingram to 7 hours per day.
So moved.
Motion made by Kim, second by Stephanie. Call roll, please.
Kim Bramble,
Yes.
Mike Oakley,
Yes.
Stephanie Guerrero,
Yes.
Matt Peters, yes, Brad Santola,
Yes.
Larry Williams.
Yes. Need a motion to employ Caitlin Cecil as assistant high school scholar bowl coach. Motion made by Stephanie, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Brad. Call roll, please.
Kim Brown,
Yes.
Mike Oakley,
Yes.
Stephanie Guerrero,
Yes.
Pat Peters, yes, Brad Fuller,
Yes.
Derek Williams.
Yes. Need a motion to change the job description of Carol Stacy from bookkeeper to administrative assistant.
Move.
Motion made by Brad Santos, for a second. Second by Mike Oakley, call roll please.
Kim Brown,
Yes.
Mike Oakley,
Yes.
Stephanie Guerrero,
Yes.
Pat Peters, yes, Brad Fuller,
Yes.
Derek Williams.
Yes. Need a motion to approve a revision to the non-certified handbook as recommended by the superintendent related to Act of God days. Motion made by Stephanie, is there a second? Second by Kim. Call roll please.
Kim Brown,
Yes.
Mike Oakley,
Yes.
Stephanie Guerrero,
Yes.
Pat Peters, yes, Brad Fuller,
Yes.
Derek Williams.
Yes. Okay, I'd like to have something put on the agenda for next meeting here, and Mr. Field was involved all the administrators. I think it's time, we haven't done it for a couple of years, time for our curriculum committee, it was Brad, Stephanie, and Thad's the alternate, to maybe get through this first month of school and start meeting this fall, take another look at our curriculum, can we offer any more classes in the high school, or enough kids interested to offer some advanced classes, things of that nature, and just look at the whole curriculum district-wide. I think we haven't done it for a while, I think it's time we get it. Okay. The rest of you guys agree with that?
I agree.
Okay. So if you could put that on there, and, we don't have to have a meeting next week, but just put it on the agenda, we'll discuss it next time, and then maybe start whenever it's convenient for you folks. Okay?
Yep.
Any other questions or comments?
Can I get, are you gonna send us a copy of the budget?
Yeah, I can do that.
Or is it on the website?
Well, it'll be on the website after we pass it in September. But I
Get a
can,
copy of it before you
Yeah.
just look at it.
I can do that. I'll, in your email to me, remind me,
Okay.
and I'll get that in the mail tomorrow.
All right.
If you could, like all of us.
Yeah. I'll just make a copy and send it all to you.
Very good.
Anything else? If not, motion to adjourn. Motion made by Mike, second by Stephanie.
And we are going, someone is going to call and give us more information on this gentleman to come, correct?
Yeah. good.
Yes, I can call him and see, I'll try to get that done tomorrow, try to get him coming.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you very much. Good meeting.